Thank you, Son. Good afternoon, colleagues. Today is March 7th, 2022. The time is 2:01 and Seattle City Council briefing will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Morales.
Here.
Councilmember Mosqueda.
Present.
Councilmember Nelson.
Present.
Councilmember Peterson.
Present.
Councilmember Sawant.
Present.
Councilmember Strauss.
Present.
Councilmember Herbold.
Here.
Councilmember Lewis. Council President Juarez.
Here.
8 present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If there is no objection, the minutes of the February 28th, 2022 minutes will be adopted. Hearing no objections, the minutes are indeed adopted. With the President's report, there's 2 matters today. First of all, we're going to hear from Ms. Director Tarlington from OIR and their staff to give us an update of what's been going on in Olympia. And we'll let them get through their presentation. I'm guessing you all got the memo that they had sent last night or this morning to give us the update on the bills and which have died and which are still moving forward. And also, Councilmember Morales has a proclamation for us, which I will, when it's her opportunity, will I'll allow her to go through the presentation. I think we're doing that first, though, aren't we, Madam Clerk? Are we doing the proclamation first?
We can. I believe we had it scheduled for after the presentation, but
no, it's okay. We can do that. Is that okay with you, Councilmember Morales? Okay, it's okay with Councilmember Morales. So what we'll do then is we will hand it off, as we always do during session, to interim director. I believe it's still interim. Is it still interim? Gail Tarlington and her team, Elsa and Quinn. And if you kind of want to go ahead and do introductions, and then we'll go through the document that you give us every Monday or Sunday night on the legislation.
Thank you, Council President and members of the City Council. Well, it's an exciting Monday because it is the last Monday of the 2022 legislative session. And thank you all for the support you have given to Quinn Majeski and Elsa Brown and our team in all of the testimony, letters, last-minute phone calls. We really are grateful for your engagement and your support as we navigated a very fast and intense legislative session. So I'm going to turn it over to our State Relations Director, Quinn Majeski, and he and our state lobbyist, Elsa Brown, will fill you in on the details that happened last week and that we anticipate should be happening by Thursday this week. Go ahead, Quinn.
Thank you so much. So this is the final week of the state legislative session. The legislature is slated to adjourn sine die, final day, on Thursday the 10th. This week, we are going to be focusing primarily on the bills that either passed and continued moving forward or did not pass after Friday's cutoff. Last Friday was the deadline for bills to make it out of the opposite chamber from which they originated. So House bills had to pass out of the Senate, off the Senate floor, and Senate bills had to pass off of the House floor. The exception, as always, is bills that are necessary to implement the budget, and we'll note those wherever relevant and possible. The other item of note that will be occurring this week, we expect the final negotiated budgets to be coming out. We anticipate the supplemental capital budget will be released likely tomorrow, and we will see the operating and transportation later in the week. So as with all of the items in the state legislative session, we will be providing an immediate update or near immediate in the days following sine die over email, and then once we've had time to dig more thoroughly into all of the bills and budget items, as well as see what the governor does with his signing or vetoes, we will return within a few weeks to present our full sine die report. So with that, we will go ahead and jump into legislation. We're going to cover 3 primary areas of interest, and then, as always, if you have any questions about other bills, we will answer them here, time pending, or we're happy to take any questions offline. So I'm going to hand it over to Elsa to cover housing and homelessness and public safety, and then I will return for transportation.
Thanks, Quinn.
So I'll start with housing and homelessness. Many of you all over this year and last year have been following the progress of HB 1099, which would add a climate response to the state's comprehensive planning format. That bill was significantly amended in Ways and Means, removing some of the actual climate elements from the bill, but it did pass out of the Senate. So we will be following further negotiations between the House and the Senate on what the final bill language will include on that bill. Next, I've briefed you all on Representative Shoemake's accessory dwelling units bill. This was sort of a follow-up to the governor's missing middle conversation. They were both introduced, but this bill was sort of one of the bills that made it forward out of the House. Unfortunately, it didn't get a vote in the Senate this year, so that bill will not be moving forward this legislative session. Next, we had legislation around streamlining city authority for siting of temporary shelters or transitional encampments. And although that bill was pulled from rules in the House, unfortunately, it did not receive a vote by the cutoff on Friday. So we do anticipate that that legislation will not be moving forward this session. And finally, some of you were following the governor's proposal on right-of-way camping, setting up an intergovernmental structure to help coordinate between the city and the state on helping folks who are cramped in state right-of-ways. That bill did not move out of House appropriations, but we do anticipate some funding in the budget related to both cleanup and helping folks get shelter related to right-of-way. So we will provide you with more details on what that budget language includes when we provide the final update to you all after sine die. A real highlight this year for the legislature was work on gun responsibility. I think many of you for many years have been following the state's efforts to ban the sale of high capacity magazines. On Friday, after many hours of debate, the House of Representatives voted on SB 5078, which bans the sale of high capacity magazines. It's a huge achievement for a lot of people over many, many years of effort. There were no amendments in the House, so that will now head to the governor's desk to be signed into law. Thank you to all of you who have been involved in that process over many years. Thanks to Councilmember Herbold for her testimony in committee on that bill. Huge achievement and a really big win for gun responsibility at the state. But not the only one in gun responsibility. Representative Berry's bill concerning untraceable ghost guns was also passed out of the Senate without amendments and has been forwarded on to the governor's office. And another bill by Representative Sen, which would establish restrictions on possession of weapons at certain public locations, including election sites and city halls, was also passed out of the Senate. There were some small amendments on that legislation, but we do anticipate that that bill will be moving forward through the process. But it will need to go back to the House for concurrence. So that was some of the highlights on gun responsibility this year. Some real big wins that have been many years in the making. So thank you all for your help on those. One of the other pieces of public safety that we've been following is follow up to the use of force legislation from last year, HB 1310. There have been a number of bills in this policy area this year. Two that I think I've mentioned to you before regard less lethal methods and behavioral health interventions. Both those bills, which are 1719 and 1735, have been signed into law by the governor. We also saw action last week on HB 2037 and SB 5919. HB 2037 adopts a use of force definition and a change to the Terry stop law in the state. That bill was passed out of the Senate without amendments. So there were some amendments that were adopted in the House, but those amendments were not adopted on the Senate floor. And so that bill will be headed to the governor's office for action from him. 5919 was a Senate alternative to that 2037 legislation. It was significantly amended in the House Public Safety Committee. to exclusively address vehicular pursuits. That bill passed out of the House late last week, but will need to be reconsidered by the Senate because of those amendments. And we will await final determinations of language on that legislation this final week of session. So those are some of the sort of policing and public safety legislation that we've been following this year. And I will pass it back over to Quinn.
Thanks, Elsa. A few updates in the transportation space. First off, some bills that are not moving forward this year. Senate Bill 5354, which deals with the ability to use non-uniformed flaggers at certain intersections. Unfortunately, that bill did not make it out of the House Transportation Committee, and so that will not be moving forward this year. Two other bills which have not advanced, although we are hopeful for their inclusion in the transportation revenue package. Senate Bill 5707 extends the city's automated enforcement authority for blocking the blocks in transit lanes for 2 additional years. That policy was already included in the Move Ahead Washington transportation revenue package from the start. That bill was sort of a redundancy, and so it's not really terribly surprising to not see it move forward. And we anticipate that with the passage of Move Ahead Washington, that policy would be enacted. The other bill, Senate Bill 5510, which clarifies renewal processes for transportation benefit districts, primarily the ability to renew more than once. This is an issue for City of Seattle as we're on our second go at our transportation benefit district. So when that expires, we will need this clarity. That bill did not move forward, and while it is not currently included in the transportation revenue package, there are conversations with AWC and other stakeholders about trying to get that shifted in there. So hopefully we can see that here in the final days. And then one bill to highlight that has continued to advance and is actually now headed to the governor's desk after passage in the House last week and the Senate concurring today. A bill that many of you have been following, the RTA supplemental revenue, Senate Bill 5528. This would provide the City of Seattle with additional revenue options to provide funding for light rail. That bill is now headed to the governor's desk after the Senate concurred. So I know many of you have been interested in that and following that. And thank you, Councilmember Strauss, for testifying on behalf of the city. That is now headed to the governor's desk. I think that concludes our presentation, and we are happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for our OIR team? Councilmember Strauss. Or is that
Thank you, Council President, and Quinn, Director Charlton, and Elsa, if you want to follow up with me offline, I just realized I'll flag it since I have you. Recognizing that sine die is coming this week, and we have 2 Seattle legislators, Senator David Frock and Senator Carlisle, this will be their last sine die. Just want to check in to see if there are any activities or things that we can do to celebrate their service to our city.
Councilmember Strauss, thank you very much for noting that. Those 2 legislators from Seattle have done so much heavy lifting over their years of service. And I would probably have a hunch that their colleagues are trying to figure out what will be happening. But those 2 senators are also deeply, deeply engaged in the final stretch. And so we'll check in and we will find out if there is a way that we can celebrate their contributions to our city and state.
Thank you. Councilmember Herbold.
Thanks so much. I want to really thank the OIR team for all the support they gave me so I could be a more effective advocate this session. Really appreciated having the opportunity to contribute in some small way on the three gun bills, and couldn't have done so without your help. And that was that last email blast out that you helped me send was a really fun one with the video of my testimony included, and I got a lot of really positive feedback from legislators who received it. So it's a good reminder to do those one-on-one conversations with legislators as well, and to thank them afterwards. So really, I'm thanking you for reminding me to thank them, as well as everything else you did over the session. I did have a couple questions about a couple bills. The 2037 regarding uses of force. I know that there were 2 amendments, and I heard you say that it passed out of the Senate without amendment, but I can't remember whether or not these amendments may have gotten in when they were heard over in the House. The ACLU was seeking 2 very, I think, small tweaks to the bill. One was just to clarify that the Terry stop is somebody. Terry stop situation is when somebody is intentionally fleeing, and clarifying that it was for a criminal offense. So just wanting to clarify on that, especially given Seattle's special situation of being under a consent decree because of intentional use of force, and the precipitating event being the shooting of John P. Williams, who did not know he was being detained due to his hearing disability. So that's an example of a situation where we don't want force used because a person may not be intentionally fleeing. So just wanted to get some clarity on that. And then one other question is related to the LFO, the Legal Financial Obligations Bill 1412. I see it was passed out of the Senate, but just trying to understand whether or not it needs to go back to the House for a final vote. Thanks.
Thanks, Councilmember, for the question. That amendment on 2037, the amendments you described were actually adopted in the Senate Law and Justice Committee, and those amendments were not adopted on the floor. So the final bill does not include those changes. So that's the answer to that question. On 1412, the bill did pass out of the Senate. It had amendments in this Senate, I believe, so I think it will need to go back to the House for concurrence.
Let's see, do I see any other hands? So just briefly, first of all, thank you, Intern Director Tarlington and team for meeting with me before we meet with all of our colleagues to go through particular bills on the transportation stuff, the Move Ahead Washington, and some of that I was just particularly tracking for Sound Transit, and I'll probably share a little bit more of that in my when it's my turn to talk about what I've done in the last week. But I just want to thank you guys. You've been great about getting everything we needed, following up, additional information, particularly on the some of the use of force issues, the transportation issues, the housing issues, the missing middle legislation, some of the SEPA stuff. I don't think people know behind the scenes what y'all provide for us. So I just want to thank you for that. Is there anything you want to wrap up with, Gail?
Council President, I just wanted to reiterate how valuable it has been to have you all be able to weigh in on very short notice with no turnaround time. And it makes a big difference, as Councilmember Herbold said. We will be hoping that there can be a brief summary of the results after sine die, but that we will not be providing a detailed legislative report to all of you until after the governor has actually signed bills. We all know different circumstances where things can happen between the transfer to the governor's mansion and the signature on a piece of legislation. So we'll be waiting probably until sometime later in the month to perhaps early April before you have a full wrap, and then we'd look forward to an opportunity to brief you at that time, Madam President, at your convenience.
So just so we're clear though, on the untraceable guns, that was already signed by the governor, the Senate Bill 1705.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah, and
That
then
is correct. Some bills have been signed already.
Yeah, and then-
It's been signed by the president of the Senate. I think it's being transferred to the governor's office now, unless it happened this morning and I've missed it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then the other one that we know was the Peace Officer Use Force 1735 was already signed.
That's correct. The governor signed 1735 and 1719 late last week.
Last week.
Okay. Okay, that's what my notes say. Okay, great. All right. I do not see any more questions or concerns from my colleagues, and I'm guessing if they have something else, they'll probably get a hold of you offline. So
Thank you.
With that, colleagues, moving on into the agenda, we are going to go to signing of letters or proclamations, and it's my understanding that Councilor Morales has a proclamation for us, and I will let her introduce it and tell us about it before we have anyone who has questions of Councilor Morales, and then we will go ahead and have it on tomorrow's calendar. But today we will be looking for people who want to affix their name. But with that, Councilor Morales, why don't you go ahead and walk us through your proclamation?
Sure. Well, thank you, everybody. So you should have received a copy of the proclamation last week. And I am asking for your support to make tomorrow, March 8th, Phyllis Little Epaminondas Day. Phyllis was a lifelong advocate, an HIV educator, and leader for over 30 years. Especially during the time of our own pandemic right now, it's important to uplift leaders from our last and frankly more invisible or treated completely differently pandemic, which was the HIV and AIDS pandemic. Like our current crisis, the impact of HIV and AIDS on Black and Brown communities disproportionate and devastating, with the loss of many of our neighbors, family, and friends. Phyllis started POCAN, formerly People of Color Against AIDS Network, as a program manager in 1990 and assumed the role of executive director in 1998, where she worked closely with the Washington State Department of Health, with Washington State Department of Corrections, and started one of the first HIV medical case management programs focused on the BIPOC community that worked to reduce the effects of HIV in communities of color, and did this work until her retirement in 2015. Phyllis left us last November, and so the folks at POCAN, her friends and family, were asking for her to be honored and to be recognized for the really critical work that she did in our community. Tomorrow, Phyllis's daughter, Serwa Ashford, will accept the proclamation on her behalf of the family, and will speak to the amazing life of her mother. And so, colleagues, I am asking today for you to indicate if you would like to have your name affixed to the proclamation.
Are there any comments or questions or anything anyone would like to add to Councilor Morales's honoring Phyllis? I just want to add a quick note, and just probably is going back in the time machine to show how old I am. I remember Phyllis because I was pregnant with my first daughter, and she asked me to be on the board for POCAN, and that daughter is now 30. And yeah, I remember her now, and she was very well connected with the Washington State Commission with Justice Smith and all those folks back in the day, and with used to be Evergreen Legal Services and Ada and all of us back in the day. So I'm really sorry to hear of her passing, but I am so glad that you brought this forward, Councilor Morales. I had forgotten about who she was and what she had done, because for all these youngins listening, which you're all in 90, 91, you're all in, either being born or you're in grade school. Back then, nobody was stepping forward in communities of color and advocating for those folks for HIV and AIDS. There just wasn't anything really there. And that was towards I would say not the height, but kind of in the middle of the AIDS epidemic, and what we were working with groups up on Capitol Hill, and also representing people who were being denied healthcare and housing due to HIV/AIDS. And I remember her now. So I want to thank you, Councilor Morales, for bringing this forward. We don't always get to, I think people forget it. They forget the history of how long these things take, and the type of people like Phyllis that make it happen. So I'm looking forward to meeting her family tomorrow. So again, I just want to thank you for that. Okay.
Thank you, Council President.
Yeah. So with that, folks, now that Councilor Morales has presented her proclamation, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on the individuals or the colleagues who want to affix their name to this proclamation so that we can present tomorrow?
Councilmember Morales,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosqueda,
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson,
Aye.
Councilmember Peterson,
Aye.
Councilmember Sawant,
Yes.
Councilmember Strauss,
Yes.
Councilmember Herbold,
Yes.
Council President Juarez.
Aye.
8 signatures will be affixed.
Thank you. So I guess I need to say the magic words that, will the clerk please affix my signature and the others to the proclamation for tomorrow's presentation.
Thank you. We will do that.
Thank you. So let's move on to our agenda item number 5, a preview of city council actions and reports from our individual council members. And the lineup this week starts with Councilmember Morales, Mosqueda, Nelson, Peterson, Sawant, Strauss, Herbert, Lewis, and then yours truly. Councilmember Morales.
All right, me again.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, colleagues, for your signatures. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. My next committee, the Neighborhood Education, Arts, and Rights Committee, will be this Friday at 9:30. We will be meeting the new interim OCR director, Derek Wheeler-Smith, and he will be presenting the 2022 work plan. I thought we were going to have some appointments, but we're going to try to compress those appointments into fewer meetings. So perhaps the following committee meeting, we will have several appointments. Okay, so last week I attended the King County Growth Management Planning Council, where we discussed the work plan for 2022 and also had 2 briefings, one on affordable housing activities and one on the urban growth area. So there's will be some movement happening over the next couple of years as we move toward the comprehensive plan. And so at the county level, different jurisdictions are coming together to talk about what they would like that to look like. In my office, we're continuing our tradition of crafting policy through direct collective engagement. Last week, we held our first of many policy work group meetings for 2022. We had about 30 groups and organizations involved who are advocating for small business, the arts, sustainability of the environment, anti-displacement work, healthcare, housing. So we're trying to bring together lots of community members and stakeholders. And I'm excited about the work that this coalition is doing to help pass more legislation this year. We'll be continuing to meet with all of these folks to craft our priorities and try to do good things for our community. I look forward to briefing colleagues on the policies that I'll be focused on in 2022. Will be stemming from this collective work, and we will have more to say in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. On Thursday of last week, I participated in the Baltimore Healing Cities Summit. I spent the morning talking with colleagues from across the US and Toronto about participatory budgeting and the ways that we can democratize power as elected officials. As I mentioned last week, Baltimore recently passed the Elijah Cummings Act that directed city departments to review their policies and practices with a trauma-informed approach to make sure that city departments are not causing harm to neighbors. And so they were asking folks from around the country to share what they've been doing and invited me to talk about that. So it was really, really inspiring. I was on a government panel, but there were also lots of panels of community members, young people, and it was a really great day. If anybody's interested, I can share the link with you. Last week, my staff and I visited Nicholsville Tiny House Village in the CD to talk more about their desire to move into, or to build a new eco-friendly, self-managed tiny house village in District 2. I'd be excited to welcome them back into the neighborhood and look forward to seeing how we can move that work forward. We also heard about the need for a Tent City 3 to find a new home. Share says that they're looking for new property starting in April. And so I wanted to put this on everyone's radar in case you know of a property that might be able to accommodate that organization. We held our regularly scheduled discussions, ongoing meetings with residents and small businesses and service providers and mutual aid workers in Little Saigon last week, and met with some of them again today to try to begin talking about how to move forward, particularly given that our service contracts have moved now to the Regional Homeless Authority. And as I mentioned in my briefing last week, my office met with a group of students hoping to form a student land trust in the U District. You know how tough it is for young people in the city, so I really applaud this group and looking for new ways to provide affordable homes to those who need them. And I look forward to helping them try to make some progress on this goal. Last week, I visited with Council President. Thank you very much. We got to tour the Kraken Community Iceplex. It was really great to lace up and skate on the ice. I even skated backwards. And it was really great to see the kids who were there from Rewa. These were, I believe, all kids from District 2, Beacon Hill, Rainier Valley. And it was really fun to be out with 3-year-olds. Nobody knocked me down. That was awesome. So you can check me out on Twitter if you want to see me skating backwards. I look forward to joining Councilmember Mosqueda and touring the Climate Pledge Arena this week. And do want to thank, again, Council President and the Mayor and the folks at the Iceplex for inviting us to see it. This week, my staff and I will be visiting the Chief Seattle Club's newly finished affordable housing project that's just down the street from City Hall. We have our Mount Baker meeting, and as you remember, folks are looking for creative ways to address public safety by activating several spaces around that station, including Kings Hall, which is owned by the city. So we're hoping to help them out there. And then I'll also be attending the BBC Radio Arts on Tour event at the Rainier Arts Center this Saturday. So looking forward to that. And Sunday evening, I will be joining neighbors at the Wing Luke Gala. That is all I have this morning or afternoon.
I have a question.
Muted already. Yes, Council President.
Well, first of all, thank you for coming, Councilmember Morales, to D5 with the mayor and the Lewicki's and all the Kraken people. But you have to admit the best part was all those little kids. And
Yes.
what I'm going to tell the viewing public is, first of all, Councilmember Morales can ice skate, and she acted like she couldn't. And she did fall, and nobody got it on video. I was so mad, and I got knocked down by a child. So other than that, we had a great time. And I can attest that Councilmember Morales can indeed skate backwards. So anytime anyone wants to come back up, oh, you know, we should give a big shout out, Councilmember Morales, to Susan Lee of Rewa. I mean, the Refugee Women's Alliance, they have 3 schools that they have now, the Lake City, the MLK Rainier, and Beacon. They're getting ready to open a 4th. And big shout out to Susan Lee because she is getting her doctorate. She got accepted to a doctorate program. So we see more expansion coming, and this council, and certainly since I've been on council, watching the time, effort, and money that we have poured into pre-K and into the type of housing where you can have low-income affordable housing and having pre-K underneath, you know, right there for childcare has just been amazing. So anyway, we had a great time, and again, thank you, Councilmember Morales, for being there.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was great fun, and look forward to seeing those kids again. Any other questions? I don't see any other hands up, so I will pass it to Councilmember Mosqueda.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I unfortunately wasn't actually going to the training facility last week. I thought I was. I mentioned that at council briefing, so I'm still going to come up there and see Council President Juarez. It's going to happen.
It's called the Kraken Community Iceplex.
Okay.
So yeah.
I'll get it as soon as I get my T-shirt, so I know where I'm going. I'll follow up with D5 on that. Let's see. I did also want to extend my appreciation to the members of the Intergovernmental Relations team who are in their last 4 days. Thanks to them and the members of the legislature, especially our Seattle delegation, who've been really fighting to help us have access to more rental assistance dollars. For example, we know that we need $230 million in Seattle alone to meet the current need of folks who need rental assistance. And want to thank folks like Representative Macri, Speaker Chop, Senator Saldana, who've all been working to try and increase the amount of funding that Seattle can get as a pass-through from King County for rental assistance. Wanted to also note that our next Finance and Housing Committee meeting will be on March 16th at 9:30 a.m. We are going to have on the agenda a resolution on implicit budget authority. As you know, every week we agree to pay the bills in each one of our meetings, and we want to put some tighter restrictions on the type of language that's coming to us as the legislative body for approval of those bills. And I think it'll be a great governance, transparency, accountability piece that we can all agree to, and look forward to working in partnership with the executive on that. We'll also have a briefing on the capital projects watch list, and those items will be not scheduled for a vote until the next meeting. I did want to clarify my briefing notes last week. I did mention that we had my briefing notes from the March 2nd Finance and Housing Committee meeting. I mentioned 3 possible items that may be on the agenda. Those items are not actually going to be ready at this next month's meeting. So the Finney Ridge land transfer legislation, El Centro land transfer legislation, probably looking at more like Q3 prior to budget, and our Office of Housing staffing and appropriation changes maybe next month or the following month. So those are still in the pipeline. There are no items from the Finance and Housing Committee on this week's full council agenda, so I'll just give you a brief update of some of the things that we've been working on this week and next week. This week and last week. Last week I was one of the panelists on the Money Talks presentation, members of BAPEC, the Bay Area Political Equity Collaborative. We talked about the benefits and the opportunity to expand the use of publicly funded election campaigns. And I got a chance to really highlight the democracy voucher program here in Seattle. Do want to thank the members of the Seattle Ethics and Elections Commission, Wayne Barnett, who has been just, building this program, and that's gotten national attention over the last 6 years or so. And he flagged for me that there is a new report that was coming out either late last week or early this week. So it'll have all of the latest numbers in terms of who accessed democracy vouchers and how that made an impact in this last election last year. I was also a speaker at the Masters of Public Administration Tacoma cohort for the Evergreen State College, where we got a chance as well to talk to MPA students who were interested in learning more about democracy vouchers. And I got a chance to hear from the group of students that called in for public testimony a few weeks ago. You may remember them, who called in interested in sharing their thoughts and research on housing projects. And I got a chance to hear from them about their housing proposal. I also attended the KSARC Be Loud breakfast. I did see shout outs to council members Morales and Nelson on the chat. I think I just saw Councilmember Strauss saying rah rah. I think he was there too. I know it's always hard when we're not able to be in person, but I thought that was a really great event. And last Friday, we had our first Economic Revenue Forecast Council. Council President Juarez, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder here if I share the Economic Revenue Forecast Council report out. Council President and myself are members of the Economic and Revenue Forecast, along with 2 representatives from the Executive's Office. We had the chance to review the 2022 work plan from the Office of Revenue Forecast, and had a chance to look at the bylaws, which we adopted. We also approved the vice chair of the council being Senior Deputy Mayor Monisha Harold, and I have the distinct pleasure of accepting the nomination for chairing the Economic and Revenue Forecast Council. I look forward to continuing to participate in those quarterly meetings. This is a forecast council and office that we as a council really stood up last year. Again, thanks to Council President Gonzalez for her work on that throughout last year. The first official forecast meeting that will show us the updated numbers will be on April 8th at 12:30 p.m. And then the following meeting that we have on finance and housing in April, mid-April, we'll have a chance for folks to hear more about the report out, assuming that the Forecast Council takes action and adopts the forecast. In terms of this week, tomorrow I'll be participating as a panelist on the Represent Women Solution Summit, speaking on the need for opportunities for us to expand democracy by early voting, vote by mail, universal voter registration, electronic voting access, and better campaign finance strategies as well. Look forward to participating in that national conversation. On Thursday, we're going to head to Climate Pledge Arena, as Councilmember Morales noted. Our former colleague, Councilmember Johnson, will also be there, along with former Representative Eric Pettigrew, who are also members of the team there at Climate Pledge Arena. Looking forward to seeing the union-made arena in real life, and this will be a follow-up to the great work that we heard Council President and Councilmember Lewis's committee report out on in terms of the number of high-quality union jobs, prevailing wage jobs that have been provided as part of our commitment to building the arena in our area. And FAS, as part of my committee, they wanted us to pass on that you can learn more about the career advancement and workplace safety strategies, particularly the work that they're really proud of during the pandemic, by going to their report that's on their website. It's called Climate Pledge Arena's Priority Hire, Contract Equity, and Community Impact Report. Council President and team, as a reminder, I will be headed out to Washington, D.C. this Saturday. I'll be returning on Tuesday. I have been excused for the council briefing on Monday and Tuesday next week. I appreciate the accommodations being made for the council pro tem president, so that I can have an excuse not to be there if needed. But I am happy that I've been excused because I will be going to serve in my first official board meeting of the National League of Cities. Excited to be a new member of the National League of Cities. Thanks for your support. And I'll be serving as well on the Women Municipal Government Committee and the Hispanic Elected Local Officials Committee as well. I'll be meeting with members of the National Employment Law Project, AFL-CIO, DC council members, and doing a presentation for the Center for American Progress on the ways in which Seattle utilized the American Rescue Plan Act dollars in our Seattle Rescue Plan bill. That'll be with local electeds and Jean Sperling from the White House. Thank you very much, Council President. And with that, just want to say thank you to FAS. They did do a total of over 260,000 masks that they have distributed as part of their efforts to keep folks safe. And they are working really closely with the University of Washington to resume on-site testing at City Hall. FAS has extended the agreement with the University of Washington Medicine Department to provide COVID tests in the Red Room that's on the first floor of City Hall through September 1st of 2022. Any questions? Hearing none, I will go ahead and pass it off to Councilmember Nelson.
Well, hello. Happy Monday, everyone. So for tomorrow, for council, we have one item on the agenda, which is clerk file 314490, the surveillance extension request. And so just for some background, last Friday, Lisa and central staff sent out an email with information about this, but for the viewing public, essentially the executive has requested, by way of the linked memo in the email and also on the agenda for tomorrow, council approval of an additional 6 months extension to the previous deadline for the last set of surveillance impact reports on what's called retroactive surveillance technologies, or technologies that were already in use by the city when the surveillance ordinance was passed. The delay was due to a combination of events, prioritization of COVID-related efforts, additional public comment requested by the Community Surveillance Working Group, and staffing changes. The new deadline would be September 1st, 2022, and I request your support in approving this clerk file, and reach out to me or Lisa with any questions you may have before tomorrow afternoon. And moving on, the Economic Development, Technology, and City Light Committee meets this Wednesday, March 9th, and it's a really packed agenda, but there's only one item that's up for possible vote, and that is Council Bill 120278, which authorizes the execution of a memorandum of agreement between the city, the Upper Skagit Indian Tribe, and the National Park Service for the transfer of ownership and curation of a collection of pre-contact archaeological artifacts that were recovered from the excavation of the George Inn Restoration Project in 2013. And so that's city property at the Skagit River Hydroelectric Project in New Halem. We will also, in our meeting, introduce and welcome our new interim director of OED, Markham McIntyre. And as promised last week when we voted on the on resolution 32043, there will be a briefing on the legislation to effectuate the Seattle Tourism Improvement Area's rate change, which will and we'll have a discussion. And just as a reminder, there will be a public hearing on at the following committee on March 23rd, and a possible vote on that rate change on that date. And then finally, we'll have a briefing from Seattle City Light on their building and transportation electrification assessment. So that's Wednesday. And for my highlights of last week, on Wednesday, I participated in a press conference with the mayor and OED announcing the launch of the Capital Access Program. And this is an $8 million investment of city of economic recovery funding to connect small businesses to operating capital loans, and also lower their debt obligations long term by paying down 25% of the principal of that loan. So this is exactly the kind of help we need to be giving small businesses, especially BIPAC-owned small businesses, because it's an easier route to access these loans. And we'll be getting information out to BIAs and other organizations. Will be tweeting about it to make sure that that information gets out to small businesses that might need those loans and be interested in applying. So also I attended the reveal of the new international arrivals facility at SEA, the airport formerly known as SeaTac. And it's a gorgeous and welcoming portal to our region and to the country for people that are coming here. And as Governor Inslee noted, it's likely that many new arrivals will be Ukrainians fleeing the war there. But in any case, I recommend an international trip just to check out that facility. I also attended the Queen Anne Community Council meeting and the Wallingford Community Council meeting last week. This coming week, I do have a whole bunch of meetings, but I'll call out a couple. On Thursday night, I will be at a welcoming ceremony for Brian Surratt, who is taking over leadership of the Greater Seattle Partners organization. And I'll be meeting my neighbors, some elected leaders from Shoreline on Friday, Mayor Keith Scully and several council members. Always good to introduce and have meet and greets with neighboring jurisdictions. So I don't know where I'm at with time, Council President, but I'm trying to talk fast, but I feel compelled to recognize the 4 deaths that occurred last week and the fact that we've got a real problem in the city. And I'll skip the speechifying and just say to the loved ones and communities of everyone killed by violence last week and all over the city that I'm sorry and frankly ashamed for the pain that you're going through. And to everyone else, we've gotten a lot of emails about this. To everyone else, I just want to say that I hear your outreach about what's going on, your outrage, rather, and I do feel a deep, deep responsibility to do something about it. So stay tuned, and just wanted to acknowledge what's going on. So with that, I will ask if there are any questions. Council President Juarez.
Councilor Nelson, thank you for talking about sometimes the elephant in the room when we have these deaths, violent deaths on our streets. The last 2 years has been pretty rough, and we are all aware of it. I think sometimes the viewing public thinks when we talk about lighthearted things that we really don't care or we don't know. We do know and we do see it. We do try to find joy where we can, but you know, we can't always just reveal ourselves the way we would like to as elected officials because we have a job to do. But thank you for raising your hands and honoring and talking about that we're sorry and we hope to do more and do better so we don't have these violent deaths. Um, I know that we all have these conversations offline with each other. I know that you're elected citywide, as is Councilor Mosqueda, but those of us in districts as well, where we see our constituents at the grocery store, gas station, on the street, and talk to them. We're at a park or a community center, and they're not always just organized meetings. Um, and because people have concerns doesn't mean that they're, you know, against the homeless or for the police or any of that stuff. This is just about our humanity and people feeling safe in their city, wherever they are, whatever time of the day. So thank you. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate your honesty and your ability to just share what you are feeling and also what we believe we need to do as elected officials for our great city. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
I think you.
Seeing no other hands raised, I will pass this to Council Member Peterson.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson, and thank you for your remarks. Thank you, Council President, as well. On tomorrow afternoon's full City Council agenda, there are no items related to our Committee on Transportation and Seattle Public Utilities. Our next Committee on Transportation and Seattle Public Utilities will be Tuesday, March 15 at 9:30 a.m. In District 4 this past week, I personally attended the monthly meeting of the Wedgwood Community Council. We discussed transportation and economic development issues for that Northeast Seattle neighborhood. And I'm proud to share that neighborhood with Council President Juarez. 85th Street is the boundary there, but
that's the cutoff
together.
There, buddy. 85th and South.
We work together collaboratively, as you can tell. Over the weekend, I met in person with nearly 100 seniors at the University House Retirement Community in Wallingford and answered their questions about public safety, homelessness, and recent developments in their neighborhood in Wallingford. And yesterday, I joined neighbors in District 4 for a community cleanup in the heart of the Roosevelt neighborhood, organized by the Roosevelt Neighborhood Association, that was supplied by Seattle Public Utilities with gloves, orange vests, trash bags, other supplies as part of their Adopt a Street program. To launch a community cleanup in your neighborhood, you can email adoptastreet@seattle.gov or sign up on SPU's Adopt a Street website. That concludes my report. Any questions before we turn it over to Councilmember Sawant? Okay, thank you. Councilmember Sawant, good afternoon.
Thank you, Councilmember Peterson. Good afternoon, everyone. There are no items on tomorrow's City Council agenda from the Sustainability and Renters' Rights Committee. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the committee is this Friday, March 18th at 9:30 a.m. Last week, my office issued a statement urging working people to stand in solidarity with our sisters, brothers, and siblings in the Sand and Gravel Division of Teamsters Local 174 in their strike. The workers have been on strike for a fair contract now for over 3 months. Their courageous strike has slowed Seattle's $23 billion construction industry to a crawl and is a reminder that the profits of the wealthy rest on the labor of workers. I want to be crystal clear. Any delays in construction around the region, including in vital public projects, are 100% the fault of contractors who have refused to bargain in good faith. Some big business representatives have shamefully implied that this strike must end and that workers must return to their job sites. And rank and file Teamsters also, of course, understandably want to get back to their daily lives. But the principal question is for them and for the working class as a whole is on whose terms? On the conditions of a strong contract for the workers who build our city or on the terms of the exploitative bosses? I want to quote from an email sent to all council members by a family member of a striking contract driver. Quote, I am at a loss as to how the media and political entities keep portraying this strike as the driver's fault. The 5 concrete companies are not bargaining in good faith. They are spreading lies to the public and they are doing everything they can to continue to operate while 334 drivers suffer. Heck, maybe it's 332 now that one died from suicide and another from a from an overdose. When is enough enough? Why is the media allowing these companies to continue to reference their quote unquote historical offer? Has anyone looked into the rate of pay of these mixer drivers? End quote. It is the greed of the contractors and their refusal to bargain in good faith that has put projects on hold and thousands out of work. Construction corporations are making money hand over fist, but they have refused to agree to a fair deal with the workers who actually build these projects and produce the industry's wealth. Sand and gravel workers are courageously fighting to better their conditions in the face of the eye-popping profiteering by big business. And they're joined in this by workers across the city and the country, from the Starbucks baristas who are unionizing to resident physicians at the University of Washington who are now fighting for a fair contract, to educators in Minneapolis who have taken a strike authorization vote. All labor unions and rank and file workers, union and non-union, must stand with our siblings in the Teamsters Sand and Gravel division. In the face of stonewalling and attempted strike breaking by contractor bosses, mass action is needed to win this strike. I appeal to all workers to refuse to cross the Teamsters picket line and to refuse to handle any concrete being used by the bosses to break the strike. Ultimately, the labor movement must rally behind the Teamsters with mass demonstrations of working class solidarity. The construction bosses are determined to break the sand and gravel strike and enforce a substandard contract in order to send a message to all building trades workers. Don't dare to fight for what you deserve. This is precisely why all working people have a great deal at stake in helping our siblings win a victory in this strike. A setback for the sand and gravel strike will be used by the construction companies to clamp down on future action by construction workers. Conversely, a victory would send a reverberating message to all construction workers and to the wider working class that when workers fight with unshakable solidarity, we can win. We need to rebuild a fighting labor movement on the principle of solidarity, that an injury to one is an injury to all. I have donated $10,000 to the Sand and Gravel Teamsters Strike Fund from my Solidarity Fund. As many working people know, I take home only the average worker's wage, and the rest of my six-figure city council salary after taxes goes into this Solidarity Fund for worker organizing and social movements. I urge labor unions, progressive elected officials, and community organizations to donate as well. And I urge all city departments with construction projects involving concrete to do everything in their power and to use any leverage available in their construction project contracts to put pressure on the concrete bosses to bargain in good faith and offer a decent contract for concrete workers. Tomorrow, March 8th, is International Women's Day, a day that was born out of strikes, marches, and revolutionary struggle. I wanted to wish happy International Women's Day to all of Seattle's working people. It is sobering that women are having to build a renewed fight for abortion and reproductive rights in America, and it should be a reminder of how our previous victories were won in the first place. Florida legislators voted to ban most abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy just on Thursday last week, a move that would severely restrict access to the procedure in a state that has for decades been a refuge for women across the South. Women in Texas have been living under the shadow of Senate Bill 8 for 6 months now. This bill criminalizes virtually all abortions starting after 5 to 6 weeks of pregnancy. This is before many would even know that they are pregnant. There are no exceptions for pregnancies that are the result of rape or incest, and it has been called the most brutally restrictive abortion law in US history since the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision ensured the right to abortion in 1973. This spring, the majority conservative US Supreme Court will decide on a case that could deal an even deadlier blow to abortion rights in the US. This is Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, which could result in allowing bans on abortions just after 15 weeks, or rather after just 15 weeks. If the court decides in favor of Dobbs, this would mean that Roe v. Wade, the defining victory of the radical mass women's movement of the 60s and 70s, could be virtually nullified by the time of its 50th anniversary in 2023. This is, of course, unless there's a massive fight back to stop it. Let's look at what's happening around the world. Texas Senate Bill 8 went into effect in September just as the struggle for abortion rights reached a milestone in Mexico when the criminalization of abortion was declared unconstitutional. This victory would not have been possible on the basis of relying on the courts themselves or on the political establishment. It took years of building organizations, a cross-border Green Tide movement, and mass mobilizations to apply pressure from below. The same was true of the victorious movement in Argentina that won abortion rights at the beginning of 2020. This unrelenting movement-driven approach will be necessary in the United States to defend against and beat back ongoing attacks on women's reproductive freedom. So on that note, I wish everyone an happy International Women's Day. Thank you. Do council members have any questions before I end the report from my office?
I do want to thank you for bringing up International Women's Day. So thank you for that, Councilmember Sawant.
Thank you, President Juarez. I don't see any questions and no Zoom hands raised, so I will pass it on to Councilmember Strauss.
Thank you, Council President, colleagues. Last week here in District 6, I was able to join the Fremont Neighborhood Council meeting where we discussed tree legislation, load levels on our Seattle City light grid, and parking issues. My staff also attended the Finney Neighborhood Council and the North Precinct Advisory Council, as well as the Wallingford Community Council. It's that week of the month, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I also was able to meet with the Finney Neighborhood Association regarding a string of burglaries in the neighborhood. We discussed next steps in a meeting that will be occurring this week where my staff and SPB will be attending. Last week, I was also continued working with Councilmember Nelson, Mayor Harrell's team, and the Fremont Arts Council to ensure the Solstice Parade and Fair have the city's support they need to be successful, and I look forward to the next steps coming out this week. As well, last week, I hosted my weekly office hours with D6 residents on Thursday. I met with 3 residents from Ballard, 1 from Loyal Heights, 1 from Finney Ridge, 1 from Sunset Hill, 1 from East Ballard, and 2 from Greenwood. We discussed public safety, zoning and density, homelessness across the city and the district, and specifically homelessness at Woodland Park, treatment on demand, quality of life, and ending the use of small internal combustion engines for landscaping. More on all of that soon. This last Sunday, I had a busy day. I toured the potential Sound Transit 3 light rail alignments and stations with our city designated representative to Sound Transit, Marshall Foster, as well as Sarah Maxana from SDOT. I was able to then stop by the Ballard Blossom building on Market Street, where Professor Daniel Selbeck has added vibrancy to our community by activating an otherwise vacant building as it waits for development permits. On Sunday, his students from his class on entrepreneurship held a market selling the products they created. I was really impressed with the card game, the dog treats, and the calendar to help you remember to water your plants. Those who know me, I love plants. I just want to say well done to all the students from Green River College and the University of Washington. After that, I wasn't done. I attended the tryouts for Ballard FC, where about 130 people vied for 3 to 5 open spots for the team. I, for one, am very excited about the season opener, which I have heard is already sold out. And as always, each week, last week and next week, I hold operational meetings with community leaders, government entities, and non-governmental entities to make meaningful interventions to address homelessness in specific places in District 6. This is inclusive and not limited to Woodland Park and the Ballard Fremont industrial area. If you would like to meet with me to discuss this or anything else, please do sign up for office hours. This coming week, I will be hosting, and last week, I guess it wasn't in District 6, we'll get to that in a minute. This week in District 6, I'll be hosting my weekly office hours with D6 residents Thursday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. I will attend the Green Lake Advisory Council to discuss the Green Lake Community Center. And tomorrow morning, I look forward to joining Mayor Harrell on Ballard Avenue for the signing of the street dining extension legislation. As well, this week, as I already mentioned, my staff and SPD will attend a meeting hosted by the Finney Neighborhood Association to discuss public safety issues on their street. As well, my staff will be attending the Ballard District Council on Wednesday. Last week, outside of District 6, I was excited and happy to attend Kraken Day, where we had the mayor present the proclamation to the Seattle Kraken, as well as very thankful to hear the Ukrainian national anthem sung before the game. I also met with new Chief Operating Officer Marco Lowe to discuss permitting timelines and the refocus and energizing design review. I also attended the Association of Washington City's Legislative Steering Committee and helped build a tiny home for former councilmember Sally Bagshaw through Sound Foundations Northwest, who have an assembly line set up to build their tiny homes. If you want to volunteer, you can find them at soundfoundationnw.org. In the Land Use Committee, colleagues, there are no items from the Land Use Committee on full council today. The Land Use Committee meets this Wednesday at 2 p.m. There are 3 agenda items on our agenda: a vote on Council Bill 120266, which extends the transferable development rights program on First Hill, a briefing on Council Bill 120265, which extends the bringing business home legislation we adopted last year to help home-based businesses. This extension is a short extension while the final parameters are put in place by SDCI for permanent legislation. And as well on the agenda is our quarterly tree report from SDCI. I do want to make note, in last week's newsletter, my newsletter that I sent out, I used vague language and incorrectly referenced the entire package of tree protection bills as being sponsored by Councilmember Peterson and myself. I want to clarify, Councilmember Peterson and myself are sponsoring only the arborist registration bill. The two directors' rules and ordinance have been drafted by SDCI, and I want to thank Councilmember Peterson for your work on this. Before I move on, just taking a pause to recenter, I do have some tragic news to report from our friends at SDCI about the passing of a beloved colleague. From SDCI, I have these notes to share. One of our members of our code compliance division, Vincent, who was a supervisor in the division, passed away the previous Sunday, February 27th. Always the gentleman, Vincent was a strong and gentle soul and will be dearly missed. He had worked for the department since July 2013 and is survived by his wife, Santosha, as a Parks and Department employee and their 5 children. I have no words that I can share to capture my gratitude for Vincent and his service to our city. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Council President and colleagues. That is my report. Council President and colleagues, do you have any questions? Seeing no questions, I will pass it on to Councilmember Herbold. Councilmember Herbold, please take it away. Great to see you.
Thank you, Councilmember Strauss. So there are no items on tomorrow's full council agenda from the Public Safety and Human Services Committee. Just a quick update on the agenda for the Public Safety and Human Services Committee for this week's meeting. We are meeting tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. And the agenda items will include the following. We'll have an update from the mayor's office on the search process for a permanent OPA director. As just a little bit of background for folks, the accountability ordinance requires that if the mayor does not make an appointment or reappointment within 90 days of the first day of the expiration of a term, of a vacancy, or of a rejection by the council, that the Public Safety Committee shall appoint the OPA director themselves. I'm not interested in doing that, but I am interested in giving the executive some additional time and flexibility with the timeline that's in the current ordinance. The Human Services Department will be present in committee to present its 2021 Race and Social Justice Report, including a look at their 2021 accomplishments and 2022 objectives. And then we have 2 Seattle Police Department grant bills. The first is a bill to accept $1.3 million in U.S. Department of Justice grants for funding to maintain the Northwest Regional Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, to address technology-facilitated child exploitation and continue the Human Trafficking Task Force. Normally, these grants would have been included in the fourth quarter supplemental bill. There was not a fourth quarter supplemental bill last year, and so this is scheduled for a vote in my committee. Secondly, we will be hearing a first briefing without a vote on some other grants related to the Urban Area Security Initiative in advance of a briefing from central staff on March 22nd. So SPD is coming to talk to us about the bill tomorrow in committee, and then we'll be hearing more from central staff at our subsequent meeting. Council accepted about $3.8 million in funding from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security Urban Areas Security Initiative in the 2022 budget. So we accepted the funding and we appropriated about $750,000 of that funding to the fire department, and the budget committee opted to delay the appropriation of the remaining $2.3 million until the members of the Public Safety and Human Service Committee could hear a more detailed analysis. Additional information is in the central staff memo that's attached to the agenda. Attachment A to the legislation has additional details about specific uses of the funds. I encourage folks to check it out. Some departmental updates from the Human Services Department. Just a reminder that the Seattle Youth Employment Program is now accepting applications for its summer internship program through March 26th. Summer is right around the corner, folks. The program places young people in structured paid work settings within city departments and local nonprofit agencies to gain a hands-on experience, develop personal connections, and to build their resume. These are paid internships for 6 weeks, and participants are eligible to earn over $17 per hour. To date, 104 young people have applied, and 34 employers have expressed interest in hosting interns this summer. To qualify, you must be between the ages of 16 and 24, live in the city limits, or attend a Seattle public school or Seattle college. You must also live in a household with incomes at or below 80% AMI, area median income. You can find more information at seattle.gov/SYEP. Quick public health reminder, folks, I am certain are aware, but just a reminder that changes in mask requirements start on March 12th. Individual businesses and venues may still continue to require masks after March 12th. For instance, we know that the Seattle Public Schools are keeping their mask mandate in place until further notice. And so the guidance is simply to just respect the rules of the room. If a mask is required in a specific location, please do wear one even after March 12th. On public safety updates, I met with Chief Diaz last Thursday. We discussed their work at 3rd and Pine and other issues, including violence that had just happened over the 24-hour period prior to that meeting. The chief noted that on security cameras, a police car was visible just moments before one of the shootings. As it relates specifically to the efforts around Operation New Day, I encourage Chief Diaz to help facilitate the reporting out on weekly Operation New Day metrics, not just the law enforcement elements, but the non-law enforcement elements that are called out as an intrinsic component of this operation. Many of you may have seen a recent Bloomberg News article about Dallas, where violent crime decreased in 2021 after the previous 2 years of increases in violent crime. And they quote their police chief as saying, the goal is to implement a wide-ranging collaboration between city agencies to address complex specific issues like blight, lighting, park access, and homelessness, and a concerted push to engage individuals who are at a high risk of being a victim of crime or perpetuating one themselves through initiatives like gun violence interrupter programs. Chief Garcia in Dallas said, this plan, like any plan, cannot all be about police. And I think that is reflected in the description of Operation New Day, but really need to look at how we are creating some transparency around those non-law enforcement elements so that we can really tell the public that we have learned the lessons from other previous hotspot type of interventions that historically have just moved the dysfunctional and violent activity to another location. We also discussed the ongoing Nick Jr. call analysis. And I know folks are eager to hear more about that. I hope I have more to say soon. I think our interest in finding alternatives to 911 calls has been increased with the increase in need for our existing officers to be available to respond in a timely way to the highest priority highest priority calls. We also discussed the successful passage of 2 of the 3 responsible gun owner laws in the state legislature. It was only 2 on Thursday, but now it's 3, really, as we heard this morning, earlier today. The large capacity gun bill also passed, and there is reason for celebration there. Also, so folks know, I did ask before this meeting whether or not there was additional information about yesterday's officer-involved shooting on Saturday evening at the federal building beyond what was in the police blotter. I will share information when I receive it with my colleagues. Please note that per policy, the department will release video of the incident within 72 hours. As far as events coming up this week, Thursday, I have the lead policy coordinating group quarterly meeting to attend. And then tomorrow, the consent decree monitor and the community police commission will be holding the third in a series of community engagement meetings from 6 to 8 p.m. The focus on this meeting will be use of force. The Seattle Police Monitor website should have the use of force preliminary assessment up soon, and you can go to the CPC meeting agenda for CPC meeting agenda site for the agenda itself and for login information if you want to participate. That ends my report. Do any council members have colleagues or comments on my report? Seeing none, I will pass it on to Councilmember Lewis. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Herbold. Councilmember Lewis is not here today, so I will just go ahead. So for me, there are no items from the Governance, Native Communities, and Tribal Governments Committee on tomorrow's council agenda. The next committee meeting is March 17th at 9:30 a.m. In regards to Sound Transit, we heard some issues today. In Olympia, the House and Senate transportation leaders are continuing to work towards the final passage of the Move Ahead Washington proposal, which provide new funding for transportation projects and programs across the state. Gail and her team touched on some of this with Senate Bill 5974, which was the transportation resources, and Senate Bill 5975, which is the additive transportation funding. And I'll get to a little bit more about that in a moment. So Sound Transit 3 is the largest transportation project in our state's history. And as a member of the Sound Transit Board, I want to highlight a few investments that Move Ahead Washington would make in light of light rail expansion. While these investments are located outside of Seattle, not all of them, or they are all of them, but within some are in King County, they will help improve regional mobility and bolster Sound Transit's overall finances. The proposal includes the following. So there's $60 million set aside for 3 counties, starting with $20 million for access and multimodal investments for access to light rail at South 356 and Federal Way, which is King County. $20 million for access to light rail between Fife and Tacoma. That's the 5-station East Tacoma and Tacoma Dome, which is Pierce County. And then $20 million for on I-5 and 164th Street Southwest. And that's access to light rail in Linwood, which is Snohomish County. So 60 million is very helpful, and we're glad that this is getting through. So more specifically for Seattle, we're glad to see that Senator Jamie Peterson's bill 5528 is making progress. Thank you, Councilmember Lewis, for providing public comment down in Olympia. I'm sorry, not Lewis. Councilmember Peterson. I was getting the two Petersons mixed up. So the bill, the bill, which is listed on page 6 of the council bulletin that we went over this morning, would allow cities like ours to seek supplemental revenue for projects identified as enhanced service zones within the current regional transit area. This bill passed both the House and the Senate, and my understanding is that's returning to the Senate for some fine tuning this week. So I want to give a big shout out, obviously, to Senator Peterson. I started conversations with him almost like a year ago, or like last spring. And so it's been wonderful working with him. And again, thank you, Councilmember Peterson, for going public comment at Olympia so we can allow local groups, local communities, municipalities to raise or have additional funds around these light rail stations to supplement or assist or whatever they deem appropriate for that particular light rail station so people can get there. Without repeating everything, Councilmember Herbold, I also met with Chief Diaz. I probably meet with him once a month or every other week, and we discussed a lot of the things that you shared, Councilmember Herbold, the Operation New Day, Third and Pine, Little Saigon, the police data, as those of you know, if you go to the SPD website, you can go to their dashboard and it breaks it down by city, fatalities, shootings, all of those things. So it isn't just about D5, it's citywide. And then I had an opportunity to talk with them about particular hotspots, concerns regarding public spaces, parks, and our failed efforts to get more money in WashDOT to do cleanup and restoration on property, on WashDOT property, and also have the same money funding there as well. It started out around 51 million. I don't think it's at 51 anymore. It's gone down. I think it could be around 20 million. I'm not sure. But so you also have someone there to provide services. So this isn't, I know some people categorize it as this, it wasn't millions of dollars to go in and quote unquote sweep. It was money in there, kind of akin to what City of Seattle was doing with the Clean Cities Initiative. So you have cleanup, which is dangerous, those conditions on I-5, under ramps, under bridges, where that we've seen multiple fires and other things, but also have people there to provide services, to make sure that those people that are unsheltered are going to get sheltered. So that was my big push on that Olympia bill that came out of the governor's office. Let's see. Oh, and I also had an opportunity to meet again with presiding judge, chief presiding judge of municipal court, Judge Willie Gregory. And I hope to have some more information for you, but my understanding from Judge Gregory is they are going to be rolling out some, if it's not already out, and I'm supposed to find out by the end of the day today, some programs for those folks, if the court had imposed fines, if they can't meet those obligations, that they will either be eliminated or reduced. And there was a name for that, and I just did not write it down, and I feel bad. I will get back to y'all, because I think this is something we've been talking about, at least with this council, for the last 2 years, and we've been working with the municipal court about it. Councilor Herbert, you may know, I don't know, you look like you might have the answer. You
LFOs?
yeah.
Legal financial obligations?
No, not that one. That's the Olympia one. This is where when municipal court, where a judge.
We have them here too. We have them here locally also.
Okay, so but they're going to have another program. It's actual like a court-like panel or whatever. You can come forward to a magistrate. That's the word I'm using, to say that look, I'm not going to make these court fines, and this is why I can't, and this is the need, and this is why I'm low income, and then therefore nothing is revoked. There's no kind of probation. They just said, okay, fine, we'll erase those, and it makes sense. We've been doing that. They should have been doing that for years. They're doing it now, and I should have more information for you next week about that with after meeting with the presiding judge, Willie Gregory. So with that, I think that wraps up my comments. Is there anything from my colleagues before I say, well, before we adjourn, do you see anything from any of my colleagues? Nope. Okay, so folks, our next meeting, of course, is March 14th at 2 o'clock. And with that, I think we are adjourned. All right. Thank you.